For 11 years, Ken Curtis made America laugh as Festus Haggen on Gunsmoke. But behind the cameras, his life was shaped by hardship, music, war, and a pair of personal conflicts that haunted him for decades. One with his ex-wife's powerful Hollywood family, and another with a co-star that ended his time on the show that made him famous. Ken Curtis was born Curtis Wayne Gates on July 2, 1916, in Lamar, Colorado, the youngest of 3 boys. His father, Dan Gates, was a farmer-turned-lawman who became Bent County Sheriff in 1926. When Dan took the job, the family moved into an apartment above the county jail. From age 10 to 15, young Curtis lived with prisoners directly beneath his feet, while his mother, Nellie, cooked for the inmates as well as her own family. One prisoner, a man called Cedar Jack, fascinated Curtis with his rough country drawl and tall tales. Years later, that voice became the blueprint for Festus Haggen. But life above the jail was no fairy tale. When 2 prisoners escaped through the chicken coop below, Curtis's dog tried to stop them, until his mother, thinking the dog was attacking the hens, called him off. The fugitives got away. That episode taught Curtis how quickly control could vanish, a lesson that stuck with him forever. Music was just as constant a force. His father played fiddle, his mother the pump organ, and his brothers sang and played banjo. At age 8, bedridden with pneumonia during a brutal winter, Curtis taught himself guitar to pass the time. It saved him from despair, and from that moment music never left his life. By high school he was a star quarterback, tall, athletic, and seemingly destined for a sports career. Yet after practice, he secretly wrote cowboy ballads and played clarinet in the school band. In 1935, instead of pursuing football or law, Curtis shocked his family by spending his $200 in savings to enroll at Colorado College, claiming he wanted to study medicine but truly chasing music. The Great Depression hit the family hard. The sheriff's $75 a month salary barely kept them afloat, and Curtis worked long hours on ranches to help. Those lean years built a toughness that would later define both the man and his characters. At age 13, he witnessed his father in a real gunfight with cattle rustlers on Main Street. Bullets shattered glass near the boy as he hid behind a barrel. The image of his father's courage, and his own fear, stayed with him for life, shaping the authenticity he brought to Western roles. In 1938, at 22, Curtis dropped out of college and moved to Los Angeles to chase music full-time. Just 3 years later, opportunity came calling. When bandleader Tommy Dorsey needed a temporary replacement for Frank Sinatra, Curtis joined the orchestra and, on Dorsey's advice, adopted the stage name Ken Curtis. Though his time with the band was brief, it introduced him to the national stage and taught him the discipline of professional performance. When World War II began, Curtis enlisted in 1943 and served in Italy, earning a Bronze Star for bravery. Even amid the fighting, he sang for the troops, keeping morale high. Returning home in 1945, he resumed performing and soon found himself signed by Columbia Pictures after studio executives heard his rendition of Tumbling Tumbleweeds. His film debut, Rhythm Roundup, premiered that same year, followed quickly by Song of the Prairie and several other musical westerns. By 1949, Curtis had joined the Sons of the Pioneers, replacing Tim Spencer as lead vocalist. His first big hit with the group, Room Full of Roses, reached both country and pop charts. He also lent his voice to classics like Ghost Riders in the Sky and performed at Carnegie Hall, solidifying his reputation as one of the finest singing cowboys of his era. In the 1950s, Curtis transitioned to television, guest starring in shows like Have Gun, Will Travel, and continuing to weave music into his roles. But his luck turned during the low-budget 1959 horror film The Killer Shrews, when a costume dog bit into his arm and shoulder, causing permanent nerve damage that made it painful to play guitar. A year later, he joined John Wayne's epic The Alamo. Wayne admired his natural drawl so much he rewrote scenes to include more of it, praise that boosted Curtis's standing in Hollywood. But the war injury that had scarred his throat returned to haunt him. In 1963, during early seasons of Gunsmoke, doctors found severe scar tissue in his vocal cords. Surgery saved his voice but left it rougher and raspier, a sound that became part of Festus's charm. Curtis first appeared on Gunsmoke in 1962, pitching the idea of a scruffy, unpolished deputy inspired by Cedar Jack. The character officially debuted in 1964's Once a Haggen, and quickly won over audiences. By the mid-1960s, Gunsmoke was one of America's most watched shows, drawing more than 30 million viewers weekly. Curtis insisted that Festus be more than comic relief. He wanted him to have depth, humor, and dignity. He even wrote episodes himself, including Now That April's Here, which blended humor with heartfelt longing. Success brought tension. Curtis demanded a raise to $2,000 per episode in 1965, threatening to leave when CBS refused. Fan outcry forced the network to give in, making him one of television's highest-paid supporting actors. Yet the long shooting days strained his health and marriage. He was injured multiple times doing his own stunts, including a broken leg during The Night Riders that left him limping for life. Curtis was known for his loyalty to fans, often staying in character as Festus during public appearances. But behind the scenes, friction simmered with James Arness, the show's star, as scripts increasingly shifted focus to the popular deputy. Both remained professional, though their relationship cooled over time. His personal life also carried turmoil. In 1952, Curtis married Barbara Ford, daughter of famed director John Ford, who had helped launch his film career. When their marriage ended in 1964, rumors, never proven, spread that he had mistreated her. Whether true or not, the accusation severed his ties with the powerful Ford family, costing him future roles. Then in 1973, CBS nearly fired him after discovering he had secretly voiced the vulture Nutsy in Disney's Robin Hood using Festus's distinctive accent. To keep his job, he donated his $25,000 Disney paycheck to charity and agreed not to work outside the network without permission. After Gunsmoke ended in 1975, Curtis continued acting and singing, appearing in How the West Was Won 1979 and The Yellow Rose 1983. But in 1987, when producers invited him to reprise Festus in Gunsmoke, Return to Dodge, he refused, angry that Amanda Blake, Miss Kitty, was offered more money. He demanded double her pay and, when denied, walked away permanently. It was the final break between him and the show that had defined his career. Despite his rough edges, Curtis found lasting happiness with his third wife, Tori Connolly, whom he married in 1966. Unlike his Hollywood circle, she lived quietly and supported him through illness and financial struggles. They remained together until his death. By the late 1970s, years of smoking had damaged his lungs, and cancer began to take hold. Still, he stayed active in Western festivals, reunions, and documentaries, dedicated to preserving the frontier spirit he had helped bring to life.